Yo, what's up YouTube? It's DarkHour here, and today we're doing a quick guide on Halls of Atonement. But before we get into all that, I want to thank everybody that showed up on our last video. We're up to 400 plus likes so far, so again, appreciate it. Keep it coming. But for those that haven't done so yet, go hit the like button, hit the subscribe, turn on post notifications to make sure you get these videos, because if you like it, I know that I should keep making content just like this. If you still have questions at the end of the video, or you just want to stop by and say hi, I do stream every day but Fridays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern to 12 midnight, so feel free to stop by. Or don't, it's your life. You can do whatever you like. Let's get to the guide. Halls of Atonement. So in this dungeon, there's a few things you want to know before we get started on the bosses. The first thing is going to be the ads. And we'll start with the Depraved Houndmaster and the Vicious Gargan. These two are paired together and can be very deadly to your tank. The Houndmaster will cast a Loyal Beast, which will make all Vicious Gargan do 125% more damage. Now, since this can't be interrupted, what you have to do is either stun or knock back the Houndmaster to prevent this from happening. Now, if nobody was paying attention and the cast does go off, you will have to use a Soothe effect to dispel the enrage effect of the Gargan. The Vicious Gargan can already be deadly on their own, so tanks, you should be on the lookout for their bleed effect and when they go in range. The second ad you want to be on the lookout for is called the Depraved Collector, and you will have to interrupt Collect Sins to stop it from summoning extra ads and Siphon Life to stop it from healing. That is pretty much all the things you have to look out for that one. The third is Shard of Halkias. These are the shards that you need to collect to make sure that the first boss is unlocked. The things you're going to need to keep an eye on is a cast called Thrash. It deals a large AoE damage to the entire party for 8 seconds. Directly after it finishes channeling Thrash, it will do a Synquake, and this will just be a swirled under all the players at their location, so just make sure to dodge and move out of the way. For the Venthyr Covenant players, there's going to be some extra benefits for you guys. There's going to be trash called Loyal Stoneborn, and you guys have an extra action button named the same thing. And what it's going to do is give you control of this trash for 30 seconds. After the 30 seconds, it will just fly off like nothing happened. The second benefit of the Stoneborn is that it also grants you a 30-second buff called Stoneborn Boon that grants you 10% damage reduction per stack for each Venthyr player, and some good DPS from the Stone Helper. Now, this last ad I didn't really add onto the list because they're kind of useless, but just be on the lookout for our Deprave, a Dark Blade. They just have a frontal attack called Deadly Thrust, which again is very telegraph and you can just move out of the way. Now that the ads are done, let's get right into the bosses. The first one you're gonna face is a boss named Halkias. He has some things that at first sight look kind of scary, but if you get to know them and know the fight, they become super easy, and the fight itself becomes really easy. The first thing you want to take into account is a circle around Halkias. You want to have your range, your heals, pretty much everybody stand within the circle. If you go outside the circle, you will be permanently feared, and that's something you can't afford because you could actually walk into another mob or just be so far outside the circle that it makes the fight a lot harder and longer than it needs to be. For the tank, and maybe they may leave if you're not standing behind the boss and you're standing next to the tank, you want to be on the lookout for Crumbling Slam. So this is just going to be a real simple move. He's just going to slam the ground right in front of him, just move out of the way, easy to dodge. The second move is called Heavy Debris, and what he's going to do is grab a chunk of the floor, throw it at you, and it's going to leave a pool behind with glass shards on the floor. He's going to do 4 of these. After he casts the 4th one, he's going to do something called Refracted Sinlight. These will be beams coming out of Halkias. They're going to look like an X or a plus sign. Just make sure you want to stay inside his circle, rotate in the circle, making sure you're not getting hit by the beams. And if you're going to step over the glass shards, you rather take a quick hit from the beam than to stand on top of shards. So keep that in mind. The final move in this encounter that he does is something called Sinlight Vision, and what it's going to do is going to pick a random player and just fear them. So anybody that could dispel, just make sure to be on the lookout and dispel that person right away. Same thing applies. They might run out of the circle, they might run into other ads, and we want to avoid that to make sure this is a super easy fight and simple to do. The next boss is called Echelon, and this one we're gonna just call him the Kool-Aid Man because he just jumps through that door like he's trying to offer you something to drink. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah! This fight is very straightforward and it doesn't have that many mechanics. The first thing you want to watch out for is going to be the ads to come out from the sides. It's going to be a total of 6 of them. What you want to do is try to bunch them up together into a little group. If you're a demon hunter like me, just pull them all together. you do want to interrupt them as they're casters. When you get them to 0 health, they will turn to stone. Now you can stagger these out because they do an AoE damage to the party. So if you pop all of them at the same time, make sure you have a personal cooldown or you have a healing cooldown to make sure you survive this phase. Once the ads turn to stone, you'll have 30 seconds to kill them. This is where the first move comes into play, and it's called Shattering Leap. One of your players who will be marked with this is going to be a red arrow on top of their head. What you want to do is move to the ads or on top of them. Make sure everybody else is out of that circle, and it's going to just destroy and obliterate those stones. Throughout the fight, he's going to be doing Pool of Blood. So these are just going to be circles of blood around the map. Just make sure you get out of them. Don't stay inside of it, as they do a lot of damage. And the final thing for this encounter is to be on the lookout for Curse's Stone. This is going to be something he casts on a random player. So again, for my dispellers, for my heals, my druids, make sure you dispel this right away so they don't get stunned for 4 seconds. Now we get to the easiest fight in the encounter, which is High Adjudicator. There's a few things you need to do. The first one is dodge Anima Fountain. So pretty much it's going to be some bolts he's going to be shooting at players. It's going to be marked by swirls on the floor. You want to make sure you're not standing inside the swirls when it does drop, because it will deal damage. The second thing is that you want to interrupt Volley of Power and Bolt of Power. This reduces the damage done to the tank and into the party. So help out your heals and make sure you interrupt these. The third is going to be the Ghastly Parishioner. This is going to be a ghost-like figure that's going to fixate on a random target. So make sure you guide it, or you hide right behind one of the 4 jars that are around the room, and that would imprison him, and you guys will stop taking AoE damage, because he does pulse, kind of like a ring around him that does AoE damage or party damage. Now this is the last boss. If you made it this far, congratulations. This is a Lord Chamberlain, and he has a few exotic moves, I guess. He is a little bit different than the other 3, but let's break it down. The first thing is going to be for my tanks. You're going to look for something called Stigma of Pride. This is just a dot he applies on you, and it ramps up in damage as it goes. So make sure you have some defensive cooldowns of your own, or make sure the heals are pumping some nice heals into you. The second is going to be dodging, right? For melee, for range, or for the tank. If you're standing in front of the boss, he's going to do something called Unleash Suffering. This is just a frontal cone, easy to see, easy to dodge. Just make sure you dodge it and move out of the way. The third move, this one is called Telekinetic Toss. And again, it's very telegraphed. You just have to, keep an eye out, keep looking at the stones or where he's casting it. But he's gonna connect to one of the stones around the room, one of the 4, and he's gonna throw that stone across the room. Now it is gonna go in the direction that the stone is facing, so make sure you move out of the line of sight of that stone. For his final move, this is the exotic one I was talking about. He's gonna cast this at 70% and 40% health, so 2 times during their encounter, and this is called Chamberlain's Chorus. So this is gonna start off by doing Telekinetic Onslaught, pulling all the statues towards him. So just make sure you dodge, move around, make sure you're not standing still, right? Because it will hit you, and it does hit hard. The second part to this is that he does Telekinetic Repulsion. So he's gonna push all the statues directly away from him. So the way the statue is facing is the way that it's gonna get pushed out. So make sure you're not standing in the line of sight of any of the 4 statues. The last part is called Rituals of Woe. And what this does is aims a red beam to all 4 statues. So what you wanna do is have a player stand between Lord Chamberlain and the statue to avoid AoE damage to the whole group. Now it does do a lot of damage, and it is going to be single target damage at that point to that person standing between the beam, between the statue and the boss. So make sure you have some personal cooldowns, or your heal is on point in keeping everybody alive. But that is all, guys. Thank you for watching. This was Halls of Atonement once again, so you guys know. This is super easy to do. Just make sure you know what you're doing at the end of the day. Appreciate you guys, your support. If you haven't done so, please go subscribe. And if you want to give us a little bit extra support, go sign up for Patreon, as you will be getting extra benefits from that, like library of add-ons, giveaways, special giveaways for Patreon only. So again, if you can support, definitely go do that. If you can, I still appreciate you watching and subscribing to the channel. So stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you guys on the next video. How long do I got to keep you?